Almost all computers are constructed using a clock that determines when events take place in the hardware. These discrete time intervals are called clock cycles, or ticks, clock period, clocks, and sometimes only cycles. For example, 250 picoseconds is equal to 0.25 nanoseconds and also is equal to 250 into 10 over minus 12 seconds. Also, the clock rate, that is sometimes called clock frequency, which is 1 over clock period. For example, if a computer has 4 gigahertz clock frequency, we also write it as 4000 megahertz and also write it as 4.0 into 10 over 9 hertz, which this frequency is the inverse of the clock period. A simple formula relates the most basic matrix, which is clock cycle and clock cycle time, to a CPU time. So a CPU time for a program is equal to CPU clock cycles for a program multiplied by clock cycle time, or we simply write it as CPU time is equal to CPU clock cycles multiplied by clock cycle time. So alternatively, because clock rate and clock cycle time are inverse, so we write this formula as CPU time is equal to CPU clock cycle divided by clock rate. This formula makes it clear that the hardware designer can improve performance by reducing the number of clock cycles required for a program or the length of the clock cycle. The designer often faces a trade-off between the number of clock cycles needed for a program and the length of each cycle. Many techniques that decrease the number of clock cycles may also increase the clock cycle time. Here is an example of CPU time. Let's assume our favorite program runs in 10 seconds on computer A, which has a 2 gigahertz clock. We are trying to help our computer designers build a computer B, which will run this program in 6 seconds. The designer has determined that a substantial increase in the clock rate is possible, but this increase will affect the rest of the CPU design, causing computer B to require 1.2 times as many clock cycles as computer A for this program. So, what clock rate should we tell the designer to target? The answer is, let's first find the number of clock cycles required for the program on computer A. That is, CPU time of A is equal to CPU clock cycles A divided by clock rate A. After putting the values, CPU clock cycle is equal to 10 seconds is equal to CPU clock cycles of A divided by 2 into 10 over 9. After simplifying, we get the answer 20 into 10 over 9. CPU time, similarly, CPU time for B can be found using this same equation, that is CPU time B is equal to 1.2 into CPU clock cycle divided by clock rate. After putting the values, 6 seconds is equal to 1.2 into 20 over 10 over 9 cycles divided by clock rate. From here, we find the clock rate is equal to 1.2 multiplied by 20 multiplied by 10 over 9 cycles divided by 6 seconds. After simplifying it, we get 4 gigahertz. So to run the program in 6 seconds, P must have twice the clock rate of computer A. So far, the performance equations did not include any reference to the number of instructions needed for the program. However, since the compiler clearly generates instructions to execute and the computer had to execute the instructions to run the program, the execution time must depend on the number of instructions in a program. Execution time is equal the number of instructions executed multiplied by the average time per instruction. Therefore, the number of clock cycles required for a program can be written as CPU clock cycles is equal to instructions for a program multiplied by cycles per instruction. We use this equation and put this equation into our CPU time equation. We get CPU time is equal to instructions count multiplied by CPI multiplied by clock cycle time. And we also write our CPU time equation as CPU time is equal to instruction count multiplied by cycles per instruction divided by clock rate. The term clock cycle per instruction or the CPI, which is the average number of clock cycles each instruction takes to execute, is often abbreviated as CPI. Since different instructions may take different amount of time depending on what they do, CPI is an average of all the instructions executed in a program. CPI provides one way of comparing two different implementations of the individual instruction set architecture. Since the number of instructions executed for a program will of course be the same. So by using the performance equation, we solve this CPI example. In this example, suppose we have two implementation of the same instruction set architecture. Computer A has a clock cycle time of 250 picosecond and a CPI of 2.0 for some program. And computer B has a clock cycle time of 500 picosecond and a CPI of 1.2 for the same program. The question is which computer is faster for this program and by how much? To solve this example, we use the previous CPU time equation, that is CPU time is equal to instruction count multiplied by CPI multiplied by clock cycle time. So for the computer A, the CPU time becomes CPU time of A is equal to instruction count multiplied by CPI of computer A multiplied by clock cycle time of computer A. After, let's assume we said that the same number of instructions for, let's call this number of instructions as I. So put the values I multiplied by 2.0 multiplied by 250 picosecond is equal to I multiplied by 500 picoseconds. Similarly, for the computer B, we use the same equation, and after putting the values, we get I multiplied by 1.2 multiplied by 500 picoseconds is equal to Y multiplied by 600 picoseconds. So clearly computer A is faster. The amount faster is given by the ratio of the execution time, which comes from the performance equation we see earlier, that is CPU performance A divided by CPU performance B is equal to execution time B divided by execution time A, that is equal to I multiplied by 600 picoseconds divided by I multiplied by 500 picoseconds, that is 1.2. So we can conclude that computer A is 1.2 times as fast as computer B for this program. If we have different instruction classes, then these different instruction classes take different number of cycles. So our previous example becomes CPU time is equal to CPI multiplied by instructions count for instruction class 1 plus CPI multiplied by instruction count for second class plus CPI multiplied by instruction count of third class, and so on. Now the compact form of this formula becomes clock cycle is equal to summation I goes from 1 to n, CPI for the ith instruction class multiplied by instruction count for the ith instruction clock. And to find the average CPI, we use the equation CPI is equal to clock cycle divided by instructions count, and for more than one classes, we use the same above formula. The sum of all these CPIs and put a summation I goes from 1 to n into CPI for the ith instruction class multiplied by instruction count for the ith instruction class and divided by instruction count. For example, a compiler designer is trying to decide between two code sequences for a computer. The hardware designer has supplied the following facts. We have three classes A, B, and C, and the CPI for these classes, for class A, CPI is equal to 1, for class B, CPI is equal to 2, for class C, we have the CPI is equal to 3. And we have instruction count. We have two sequences, and instruction count in sequence 1 for class A is equal to 2, for class B is equal to 1, and class C is equal to 2. Similarly, instructions in sequence 2 for class A is equal to 4, B is equal to 1, C is equal to 1. The question is, which code sequence executes the most instructions and which will be faster, and what is the CPI for each sequence? The answer is to count the instructions, we sum up all the CPIs. So for the sequence 1, we add up 2 plus 1 plus 2 and get answer is equal to 5. And for sequence 2, we get 4 plus 1 plus 1 is equal to 6 instructions. Therefore, sequence 1 executes fewer instructions. For the second part, that is which will be faster, we use the formula CPU clock cycle is equal to CPI multiplied by C. And after putting the values, we get clock cycle is equal to 2 multiplied by 1 plus 1 multiplied by 2 plus 2 multiplied by 3, and answer is 10. Similarly, clock cycle for sequence 2, we get clock cycle is equal to 4 multiplied by 1 plus 1 multiplied by 2 plus 1 multiplied by 3 is equal to 9 cycles. So code sequence 2 is faster even though it executes one extra instruction. Since code sequence 2 takes fewer overall clock cycles but has more instructions, it must have a lower CPI. The CPI value can be computed by CPI is equal to CPU clock cycle divided by instruction count, and for sequence 1 and 2, average CPI is equal to 10 divided by 5 is equal to 2, and sequence 2 average CPI is equal to 9 divided by 6 is equal to 1.5. So far, we see CPU execution time for a program, instruction count, clock cycle per instruction, and clock cycle time. These are the basic measurements at different levels in the computer. Now we combine these factors and we get CPU time is equal to instructions divided by program multiplied by clock cycles divided by instructions multiplied by seconds divided by clock cycles. Always remember that the only complete and reliable measure of computer performance is time. For example, changing the instruction set to lower the instruction count may lead to an organization with a slower clock cycle time or higher CPI that offset the improvement in instruction count. Similarly, because CPI depends on the type of instruction executed, the code that executes the fewest number of instructions may not be the fastest.